Hello and welcome to my part 2 of Introduction to Valkyrie guide. If you're looking for information on skills and basic glyph setup, check out my Introduction to Valkyrie part 1 guide on my channel. There'll be a link in the description below. In this video, I will be going over gear and rotations for Valkyrie. Let's start with the gear. For the weapon, you want on your rolls, you want as the top roll to be damage first enraged monsters. And then for the bottom, you want another damage first enraged, a CDR, a damage from attacking from behind, and a flat damage increase for your fifth roll if you have ambush or death rack. Now for your crystals, you want to have a savage, bitter, focused, and pounding. And in addition, you want an energetic etching. Now on to your chest piece. The top roll of your chest piece is very important. You want it to generate 15 Ragnarok points after a successful hit of Bloodflower. This allows you to charge your Ragnarok up very quickly and is a must-have for PvE. Your other rolls you want is decreased damage from enraged monsters, decreased damage from frontal attacks, a flat decreased damage, and if you have ambush or death rack, get that fifth roll and increase your max HP. The crystals you want are all hardies. In addition, you want a grounded etching. Now onto your gloves. For your gloves, you want increased power, crit factor, and attack speed with the energetic etching. For your boots, you want increased endurance and movement speed, and then either decreased duration of slowing effects or replenish mana. Valkyries don't have mana issues, so it doesn't really matter which one you choose. In addition, you want a grounded etching. Now, before I move on to the other pieces of gear and jewelry, it's important to know that Valkyries have a very high base crit chance on both their Shining Crescent and their Rune Burst. Therefore, you do not need a lot of crit factor on your gear. Ideally, you want plus 70 crit factor when running with a Mystic. You can roll everything to full power. However, when running with a Priest, you're going to need to get the plus 70 crit factor from your gear. If you have everything rolled to power, then you will have a plus 32 crit factor. So you can either use lamb or use green crystals in your jewelry to help you get the rest of the way. For your innerwear, and an empowered innerwear works best here. However, you can use a fortified if you need that extra crit to hit your crit factor cap for running with a priest. For your belt, you want to choose whatever belt is with your set, and you want to roll for either 6 crit in 3 power or 3 power in 2 power. This is going to depend on if you're running with a priest or a mystic. Now your brooch, the best brooch you can get currently is a quatrefoil. A cheaper alternative is empowered. However, for either one of them, your best rolls are either 6 crit, 3 power, or 3 power and 2 power. Again, this is going to depend on how much crit you need to reach your desired crit cap. Now for the jewelry, you want to run a full power set of jewelry, either full resized Heaven's Bane or full resized Keylock. If you want to really maximize your power, you can sacrifice 4 endurance by running 3 of one set and 2 of the other, and you will gain 4 extra power. You also want power crystals in your jewelry. Unless you're running with a priest, then you want to use Keen to help you reach that crit cap of plus 70 crit factor. On your necklace, it's pretty standard. You want 4 power. For your earrings, the best rolls are 4 endurance and 4% HP. For your rings, the best rolls are either 4 power, 4 crit power, followed by 4 power, 2 power. You can also run 4 crit factor, 4 power if you're looking for that extra crit factor to help reach your cap. Now for your circlet, you can either choose 8 crit factor or 4 power. It's going to depend on if you're running with a mystic or priest. For a mystic, I would recommend 4 power, and for a priest, you can use 8 crit factor. Now that I've gone over the gear, let's move on to the rotation. For Valkyrie, most of their damage comes from inside of Ragnarok and from getting 3 Shining Crescents off during that Ragnarok. Ideally, you want to start every fight off with a full Ragnarok bar. However, this isn't always the case. So for starters, I'm going to go over how to build up Ragnarok points and the rotation that you can use to do this. So while outside of Ragnarok, your main priorities are building Ragnarok and using Shining Crescent. For building Ragnarok, you want to use Blood Flower as much as possible. So you want to be iframing boss attacks, so that way it'll reset your Blood Flower, and this will help you generate Ragnarok points very quickly. The next priority is your Shining Crescent. This should always be used with 7 rune marks. You want to buff it with 3 spinning deaths and a backstab. When your Shining Crescent is on cooldown, you want to be generating rune marks to use on Rune Burst. You want to use this with 7 rune marks, and you also want to, at the very least, make sure you buff your Rune Burst with your Dark Herald. Now let's move on to the Ragnarok rotation. One thing to note is if you have full Ragnarok points, you can preserve these by starting the Ragnarok animation and then using evasion to cancel the animation, and you will hold those Ragnarok points for another 30 seconds. So once the fight begins, you want to start with a Maelstrom into Spinning Death 3 times, then backstab, and 2 casts of Shining Crescent. After that, cast your Ragnarok plus your Brooch and repeat what you just did, Maelstrom into 3 Spinning Deaths, into backstab, into 2 Shining Crescent. Now this is your main Ragnarok rotation. This is what you want to get off 3 times during each Ragnarok. And in between these rotations, there is a filler rotation. Ideally, you want to generate 7 rune marks to Rune Burst. One example of how to do this is to Blood Flower into Leaping Slash, into Glaive Strike, into Dream Slash, into Dark Herald, followed by a Rune Burst. Now you may be thinking, wait, that's only 5 rune marks. Well, what you need to remember is after you use a Shining Crescent with 7 rune marks, you gain 2 additional rune marks. Now this filler rotation doesn't always work because of boss mechanics, so it's better to do a 5 to 6 rune burst and start your Shining Crescent rotation than it is to try to do 7 rune bursts every time. You normally get 2 filler rotations off in every Ragnarok. Now, if you do your 3rd Shining Crescent and you still have extra time on your Ragnarok, this is a good time to use your Titan's Bane, because it will still have the Ragnarok effect even though Ragnarok has ended, so you'll be giving 15% damage buff to your allies per stack of Titan's Bane. That's it for my part 2 of my introduction guide to Valkyrie. I hope you all learned something today. If you did, give this video a like, and if you like this content, consider subscribing. As always, I will answer any questions you have in the comment section below, and I will leave a link to the part 1 of this guide and a link to the Valkyrie Discord in the description box below.